Here's the exact podcast guest pitch template I used to invite for an interview more than 150 people, including such internationally well-known guests as Perry Marshal, Dorie Clark, Marisa Peer, Fishkin, Landino, Phil M. Jones, and others. For every 3 people I send this email to, 2 of them say yes to being a guest on my podcast. When you look for the podcast guests, there are 3 things that will help your podcast to grow. The first one, an interesting content that encourages people to come back to your show again and again. The next one, an authoritative guest who people want to hear. And the third one, a guest with the audience so he or she might help you to promote your episode in their communities. For more details on how to find a podcast guest, check this video. I'll explain that process step by step. My approach to finding the guest is to invite people whose work you follow and or whose work you like. Ideally, you communicate with them on social media somehow so they notice you. Then you have more chances to get yes for an interview. If not, then that's okay too. Just get familiar with some of their content and find what resonates with you, because that will be a foundation of our podcast guest pitch template. Once you define who you want to interview, you send them an email to their personal email. Most of the time, you'll get it on their site. Use plugins like Hunter to search for the emails that somehow link to that site. Then, your first task is for them to open your email. That's where the headline will play a big role. Just keep in mind that in this video, I give an example of a podcast guest pitch template, which I use, and also I give you the ideas of how you can change it a little bit and then model for yourself, because you don't want to send the same emails like everybody else who would watch this video. So let's get back to our headline. You started with their first name and something that may be interesting to them. For example, Marina, would you be interested in the interview? Or, Marina, can I help you to promote your new book? That will work if they just launched or about to launch a new book. Then you begin your email with what you like about their work. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with people. This is one of my favorite articles on your blog. And then you fill in the blank. Any articles which you find on their blog or something which you find online which they wrote as the guest blogging. I use the article or video I like, the messages shared and resonated with me, or some tips they gave and I applied. Sometimes I can write a funny story of how what they talked about worked or didn't work for me. Your task is to make it personal somehow, whether it's with the article, video, or the funny story. So they would see that that's not another spam email. Then I write, I would like to invite you to be a guest on our Marketing for Creatives podcast to talk about, and then you include the name of your topic. Mention that in the very beginning so they will know what you expect from them. I suggest a topic that I think will be interesting for an audience based on the guest experience. Next, I give a quick intro to the audience so they would know they will speak to the audience they market to. They don't come to the podcast just because of coming, but they potentially will be able to reach those people who they want to reach. So I write, it's the show for creative entrepreneurs and small business owners to help them grow their business. Often, creative people are good at their craft, but not really good in business and marketing. Your experience will be very useful for people. I would be honored to have you on the show. I also usually add some more information telling upfront how long it takes and that I'll take care of everything. Then you just come and share their expertise. The interview is about 35 minutes. I can send you some questions and we can get more to the topic depending on what you will share. And I'll end up with some examples of the previous interviews. You can take a look at already published interviews here with Dorie Clark and Phil M. Jones. This is another very important part there. I include the names of the people whom a potential guest already know, or I think might be familiar with. Make it easy for them to say yes to you. If their friends or colleagues were on your show, then they right away get more loyal to your podcast pitch. Many times people mention something like, "Oh, I know Dorie Clark, she is awesome," or "I looked at your podcast and I know half people who you interviewed. Yeah, I'll be a part of it." And from there, I'll end my email with something like, "Would you be interested in being a guest on the podcast?" You see, I want to get back to the main purpose of why I wrote all of this. By the way, if you learned something new, please like this video, then click the subscribe button and hit a bell to get notified about the new videos like this. Then, here's the thing. Even if I use it as my podcast guest pitch template, I adjust it for each person I write to. And I recommend you to rewrite it the way you speak so it won't look like a template. Each part of the email addresses a specific question. The first one is connection. What are you grateful for or admire in the guest's work? Why did you choose them? Then is a clear proposal. Invitation to be a guest and the suggested topic. The third one, important details. Audience, length of the interview, etc. Whatever you feel they need to know. The fourth one, previous guests. Who they know or potentially may know who were guests on your podcasts. And then you get back to your purpose. What do you want them to do? What actions do you want them to take? I prefer to send an email at the beginning of the week. Then, if a person didn't reply in a week, I send a follow-up email saying something like, "Hi, how are you? I sent you an email last week but did not hear anything from you. Probably you didn't get it, or for some reasons it got to a spam folder. Below I send it again. I wonder if you would be interested to be a guest on our podcast." If you still didn't hear anything from them, then a week after, you send them a third email. "Hi, this is Marina Baraeva. I wanted to follow up to make sure that you got my previous emails. That would be great to have you as a guest on," then insert your podcast name, "and to share tips about," and here goes your topic. "Would you be interested in the interview?" You see, I get back to the podcast. I remind them who I am, what is this about, the podcast name, and then the topic I want them to cover. Maybe they didn't get those previous emails, or maybe they got, but it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, they might forget. Again, model each email for yourself. Every time I start reaching out to a potential podcast guest, I know that I may need to send all of these 3 emails. Sometimes people reply after the first one, but also it may take time to get a reply. All of them are saved in my Evernote, so I copy-paste the structure and personalize an email for a particular person. When I plan to do a podcast guest outreach, I pick a day for that and send many emails at one time. That way, if someone didn't reply, I may follow up on all of those in one day too. It saves a lot of time and makes you more productive. And after they say yes, now's the time to craft your amazing interview. And if you want to know more about how to craft an interview episode, watch this video where I'll show you how I plan my interviews.